I could get the visual abstract.
We didn't do them for all, we did them, sometimes it was the author submitting, sometimes it was the editorial team, until finally, by April of 2018, all of them have been either developed or modified by the team. And the way it works is that one visual abstract editor gets assigned the visual abstract, and then they work on it and it goes to the whole team to make sure that there's consistency. So this is what it looks like. Right now we're on H2O, we're moving to J-Core, so you can see the difference between the H2O view, the J-Core view, and this is what it will look like when I tweet it on Twitter. This is our visual abstract team. Each one of them gets paid $70. So that's $70 per visual abstract. So I assign it to one of the 6 or 7 through the system, and they're the ones that can get reimbursed for that visual abstract, but after they develop it, it goes to the team for review. So it doesn't matter if you spend 1 hour or 10 hours on it, you're getting $70 for the visual abstract. This is the information about the primer that I mentioned. And we have the primer and the templates are online on our website. And so Glenn and I were joking a couple weeks ago about developing a visual abstract on visual abstracts. So, so I went to the team and I asked them, and one of our visual abstract editors said, sure, I can develop some visuals. So this is the process where it comes in. The manuscript gets sent to them, they develop a visual abstract, they send it to their teammates, you can see the slide in the middle, and then with their consensus, they have a 2.0 version, and then that comes to myself and the editor, and then if he has edits, he will incorporate them or ask the visual abstract editor to incorporate those, and then they go to the author right before acceptance, and they can make modifications as needed. And then the visual abstract gets exported with the manuscript. And so I really like this visual that Joel developed too because you know, I don't have a lot of the background in terms, I mean, obviously I know that the templates have consistent elements, but you can see that they have a family of icons that have consistent meaning. So you see chronic kidney disease, that icon, in one visual abstract you'll see the same one in another. So they all use the same, or developing that same group of icons. I know there's a better word, but and so you can see also the visual abstract template. And we have a couple different templates that we use. So this is my process. I actually have something, we use Scholar One, I have something in the system where I assign it to a visual abstract editor. That workflow stays, whether it's an original or a revision, you know, R1, R2, it just stays up there. And I can assign it to the visual abstract editor at any point. And then once they finish, I actually just close it out. I use it more in the beginning to assign it and to have them get the email and all the information that goes with it because the files are right there. So if the author submitted a visual abstract, I'll upload that, I'll send them the manuscript. So it's just seamless for me. And then I close it out once they're done. And then, like I said, it exports with the manuscript. I do have pain points. Sometimes I have to follow up with a visual abstract editor. You know, there's always some editors that are more responsive than others. And also, you know, might delay acceptance by a few days or more waiting for the visual abstract. Because I don't want, you know, I don't want that date of whatever, August 20th, to be stamped on it when we actually didn't get it to production until 5 days later. So I delay acceptance until the visual abstract is finalized. So what's next for CJSON? One, we've been asked to work with the Brazilian Journal of Nephrology to help them get up and running with their visual abstracts. Two, which we are super excited about, we are now including the visual abstracts in the alerts, in the daily alerts. that happened, I think, last night. That's a brand new step for us. And then 3, and this is something I think the panel is going to talk a lot about, is just how do we measure success now? What do we do with the visual abstracts and the information that we have? That's it.
Yeah, we're going to do this in the order the slides are, so I think we're going to Glenn come up next. Wait a minute.
Go back to the same presentation.
Which one you want? That's up.
Yeah, that's it.
So are we going to stay with this one? Who's controlling this
This
one?
is Glenn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is up for him.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're just going to do this in whatever order the slides tell us. We'll do questions at the end of all the presentations after the panel.
Sorry for the confusion. My name is Glenn Landis. I'm American Society of Hematology. And I'm probably going to speak or just confirm what Sherry and John were speaking about regarding visual abstracts. For blood and blood advances, basically, this is what you're looking at when this article is published, with arrows pointing to the article, the title, the author. We have key points for our articles, and we have the visual abstract there in the middle, and then the text abstract right below it. None of the visual abstracts are seen in the PDF, and the visual abstract is available to any reader. Specifically for blood, this applies because that obviously is a description of the journal. To get that visual abstract, we have a very complicated, apparently duotone workflow that you can't read, but nonetheless it's pretty similar to what Sherry was explaining before. We ask, for blood's case, we ask authors to provide a visual abstract just on revision during the revision process. The blood acceptance rate's around 13% now, so we don't want to anger everyone for doing extra work and doing other things. We can just focus on the first version, and then during the revision process, that's when we ask for a visual abstract. The authors in the very beginning are given some instructions. We probably stole this. Is anyone from Cell Press here? We probably stole this probably from the American Chemical Society and also Cell Press, as John mentioned before, just to give them Q&A about what to expect. And obviously, we don't just post the questions, we actually do have the answers. I just want to give you a feeling of what we provide in terms of our information. Back to the duotone workflow. We then provide the visual abstract to the editors and reviewers in that revision process, and then it obviously just goes to a decision. When it's accepted, the editor is in charge of making a decision, among other things about priority, press release, etc. There's a question about the visual abstract. Does it need help, basically? We have a graphic artist on the team, and there's some cue work and bench press and some flagging and emails in the system set up to say that yes or no, this visual abstract needs some help. And we have different resources available for that graphic abstract to grow to life. I must say, anecdotally, we've got not a lot of authors take us up on that. Not a lot of authors are asking us, and we were really worried in terms of what we were monitoring when we started the system, in terms of time and energy and resources. But the authors, especially during the revision process for blood, they're, hey, I might get accepted, so they're more than willing to provide something like this. And when they provide it, actually it works really well for us and our readers. So Sherry was explaining as well, you can see it in our TOCs. And our one goal, and why we started with blood advances, and now we do it with blood, is to use these visual abstracts in our social media, specifically Twitter. That was basically the goal. We needed some kind of, we read studies, and we saw presentations here and at other meetings, needing or requiring that visual element to your Twitter channel to provide some more welcoming warmth to the page instead of just p-values ad nauseum. So we just basically post 3-4 times a day for each channel and just reuse that graphic arts abstract throughout the process until we get to the next one. So our continued focus for us is, as Sherry mentioned too, about making sure this doesn't add anything to the publication process, especially for blood advances. We are really mindful of our speed of publication in the marketplace, so we're very mindful of that process, basically. And anything that we add to it, graphic abstracts or anything else, is always with a flag. We always kind of monitor that with a very fine-tooth comb. We always try to be author-centric. For blood advances, we do require them all to submit graphic abstracts because that was part of the launch and part of the social media and getting the journal started. For blood, like I said, it's only about 13% acceptance rate, so we try to only just focus on those 13%, less but it's a little bit friendlier an atmosphere. In terms of evaluating resources, like I said, we're really mindful still about that budget number, how much time and energy our graphics team and our vendors need to do or need to be used for the program, but thankfully so far we haven't ran into any problems. The one thing I should mention, which I don't have on the slide, is for blood, especially in terms of the volume of what blood publishes, 600-700 research articles. We only focus on the research articles for graphic abstracts, not for everything that comes out of blood, which would be about 1,100 articles. We only focus just on the research articles. So the reviews, the perspectives, the spotlights, the editorials, case reports, things like that, we do not require, nor do we focus any time and energy. If they're there, but basically 99% of it is just for the research articles. And we can start seeing, in terms of using Hootsuite or Twitter itself, we start seeing authors themselves using the graphic abstracts and posting it themselves as well. As Sherry mentioned too, we actually have passed around recently that American Journal of Gastroenterology research article that showed some of the positive effects of using visual abstracts. And here's a link to the Cell Press program and also the Sarah Teagan's ACS guidelines for graphic abstracts. And the winner next is, Rich. That is that?
Except he's leading the fight against kidney disease.
Your logos.
Two different slides combined.
You can go at 10 tomorrow.
This is fun. Yeah, this was yours, right?
Somehow.
Good case, HighWire.
Okay, so my name's
You better
Rich
check your
Stoughton.
website, Rich, to see who's
I'm blaming you if that's wrong. My name's Rich Stoughton. I'm the Journals Director for the American Society for Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics. And I think my role here is to kind of dispute what the others said and tell you either don't do it the way we did it or lower your expectations. So in 2014, our Board of Publications trustees considered adding visual abstracts, and I'm pretty sure it's because I heard about them at a HighWire meeting or directly from John.
So you are blaming me.
No, it's our fault. We talked about it. They were kind of enthusiastic because we knew we had authors publishing in other journals that used visual abstracts, but they weren't completely thrilled. So they set a couple of conditions. One was that they would be entirely voluntary. If an author wanted to submit one, that was great. We weren't going to make them. We don't have anybody on staff who does graphics, so we were not going to create them for them, and they didn't want to hire somebody to do that. Second, they didn't want to add to the reviewer workload, so they are available for reviewers to look at, but they are not required to comment on them. So they pretty much just pass through the system the way they are. And that, I think, results in some of the kind of lousy visual abstracts that we've got. These are two examples taken from the table of contents. And part of the problem is that they're so small, and people try to cram so much into one of these small images. They put type in that just can't be read. The quality of the graphics is not always great, despite the guidance that we give them. And again, because we're not really checking these carefully, whatever the author gives us gets in. They're much easier to read when you go into the HTML version of the article. And this is probably one of the best visual abstracts we've got. It's clear, it's easy to understand, and it's kind of cute and amusing. But it's probably one of very few that works really well. We implemented this in February of 2015, and we published our first one in March, the end of March following that. And I was really excited. I thought this was going to really take off. It hasn't. We've had about 2 or 3 per issue, and that's out of anywhere from 12 to 25 articles. So we get a handful. Some issues get absolutely none. What I thought visual abstracts would do is bring readers to articles, that they were to attract hits. That turns out, at least for us, to not be the case. In these graphs, the one on the top from JPAD February 20.
Question about usage. I was recently at a meeting in Singapore where there was a publishers and scientists that expressed enthusiasm for the use of abstract. So I wondered if your usage data suggests that your readers whose first language is not English might find